a rich collection of specimens. The faculty members are active in research work and have national and international publications. The department has organized many seminars, workshops, project works, and training programs to popularize and promote basic science among the students and teachers. It is my immense pleasure to introduce renowned, versatile, dynamic, eminent academician, and a great devoted teacher, Dr. P. Raghav Kumari Madam, who relentlessly pursued since her inception as principal and get a benchmark the college history. It is my honor to say that during her era, the college was undertaken by the Government of Andhra Pradesh on 10th August 2022, and she was the pioneer principal of the college since government has taken over. She did her PhD in Andhra University on histological, histopathological, and biochemical studies on the freshwater gastropod, Bellamia bengalensis, exposed to the detergent tide under the guidance of Professor K. Sri Ramulu Garu. She published 9 papers in various renowned international and national journals and edited 2 textbooks. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka, for giving me this opportunity to participate in the national webinar. Distinguished speakers and esteemed participants, a very good morning and warm welcome to you all. It's my pleasure to begin this webinar, Emerging Trends in Aquaculture. Before that, let me take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Commissioner Sir and CCE authorities for permitting to conduct this webinar. I appreciate the Department of Zoology for taking initiation to organize this webinar. Congratulations to the in charge of Zoology, Priyanka, and Dr. Deepika, and other members for their efforts in organizing this webinar. On this occasion, I would like to speak about our college, Srimati Kandukuri Rajalakshmi College for Women, Rajamahendravaram, was established in the year 1968 in the name in memory of wife of Rao Bahadur Kandukuri Veereslangam Pantul Garu, a famous social reformer of South India and a philanthropist. Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao, the then Education Minister, later former Prime Minister of India, laid the foundation stone. We successfully completed 54 years, both qualitatively and quantitatively. Golden Jubilee ceremony celebrated in 2018. Our college was running as aided college, but recently it has been taken over by the Government of Andhra Pradesh as per GOS-MS number 28, dated 10/8/2022. The college was re-accredited at NAC B+ level. In this connection, we received RUSA funds 2 crores. We are offering both conventional and restructured courses, 13 in number in UG besides MSc Zoology. Our college was born with a noble mission and to impact quality education through effective pedagogy for exploration of knowledge, reflecting innovation, creativity, and lateral thinking, and also to stage the young girls towards expansion concern for the preservation of our heritage and culture and conservation of environment. The vision of the college is to transform the young women into integrated, empowered, and holistic women leaders with sound physical, mental, and spiritual facilities who are service-oriented, environment conscious, and proactive to the development of family, society, and nation. Regarding this webinar, I would like to say a few words. Aquaculture in India is a very important economic activity and flourishing sector with varied resources and potentials. It has also become an important sector besides agriculture. India is the second largest country in aquaculture production. In India, with its vast coastal area, offers immense opportunities for fisheries in both marine and inland waters. Our country has second largest share in the global aquaculture market, mainly due to its 2.36 million hectares of ponds and tanks, a coastline of 7,500 km and a brackish water area of 1.1 million, which offers is a ground for fish farming. Today's webinar subtopics are parasitic microbial diseases in aquaculture. Number 1 subtopic, disease problems constitute the largest single cause of economic losses. in aquaculture in previous years, like 1988, we have seen catfish producers lost over 100 million fish worth nearly $11 million. Bacterial infections constitute the most important source of disease problems in all the various types of production. Second subtopic is new advancements in mariculture. Mariculture is one of the fastest growing subsector of aquaculture, making an important contribution to the global food basket and nutritional security. Apart from augmenting seafood production, mariculture also provides sustainable alternative livelihood avenue and employment opportunities for coastal communities. ICAR CMFRA successfully developed and tested the first ever open cage farming system in the country at Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. Third subtopic is sustainable management of aquatic resources, economic perspectives. Water is a very valuable resource sustaining human life, production processes, and ecosystem. Thus, particular attention should be paid to the management of water resources. Whole world is now facing a serious water crisis, including water shortage, flooding, and water pollution due to both natural and artificial causes. This water crisis has threatened human health and economic development. Before concluding my remarks, I would like to convey my appreciation to the speakers, Emeritus Professor U. Shamim Garu, Andhra University, Mr. Rajdeep Mukherjee, Policy Analyst, Bay of Bengal Program, Intergovernmental Organization, Chennai, Dr. C.H. Manjulata, Lecturer in Zoology, Nachuri Degree Mahavidyalayam, Kurda, Odisha, for their time and timely support in contributing to this webinar, though they are busy. Thank you very much, Madam, Shamim Madam, Rajdeep Sir, and Manjulata Madam. I hope this webinar will be useful for the participants to get enlightened on the topic of aquaculture. I wish you all the best. I once again congratulate the Department of Zoology for organizing this national webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Now I request Dr. Deepika Rani Madam to introduce Professor U. Shamim Madam.
At the outset, my humble pranamas to my Guru, Professor U. Shamim. A good teacher explains, a better teacher demonstrates, and a great teacher inspires. Really, it's my honor to introduce my Guru, a great teacher, eminent scientist, best academician, visionary leader, role model of commitment and immense patience, highly passionate in research and teaching, Mass Best Paper Awardee, Siksha Ceremony Awardee, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan Awardee, Merit Awardee 2012, Scientist of the Year 2013, Thomas Edison Awardee, B.P. Pandey Memorial Oration Awardee, State Best Teacher Awardee, S.S. Sinha Gold Medalist, recipient of Honorary Fellowship of the Society of Life Sciences, the inspiring personality, Professor U. Shamim, Department of Zoology, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. Fish parasitology, molecular parasitology, fish immunology, and fish pathology are the areas of her specialization. She published 56 papers in reputed national and international journals. Under her able guidance, 23 students were awarded doctorate and 11 MPhils, and 8 students are in progress of completion. She held various positions and rendered her services in academic and administrative sectors in the Andhra University. She is a member of numerous national and international committees and editorial member for many reputed journals. She successfully carried out 7 major and minor research projects and attended several training programs, national and international seminars, conferences, symposiums, workshops, etc. We are very fortunate to have you, ma'am, for this plenary talk session. Now, I request Professor U. Shamim Madam to start her plenary talk.
So, first of all, good morning, one and all. It's really a privilege to give a invited talk on this webinar on a very current topic like recent trends in aquaculture. Previously, I see also last, I think 2-3 years back also I have given a lecture here, and it's a really very pleasant what I can say experience for me to give a lecture in SRK College, which is a women's college. And many things were read by Dr. Deepika, my student, out of her love. She has given a very elaborate introduction of me. Every time we do our duty and we leave everything to the God. So in that, like that only, the entire services were done by us. So here in today, the topic was chosen. And first of all, let me congratulate the organizers for conducting this webinar, taking all the trouble, and the head of the department, president of the function, organizers, Deepika and others. They have, I think, must have had a very tough time in organizing this within a very short period of time. And the brochure, when what I have seen, it is very well, it is very nicely done. And I think the webinar also very well organized. It's going to be a very good opportunity for the students who are there, like who are the actually the customers, like who will get benefit from the 3 talks which are very aptly designed. And if anybody wanted to do their higher studies or anybody wanted to pursue any research, they can pick up some of these and they can pursue their topics in their future course of action. So once again, congratulations to one and all, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to give a talk on parasitic and microbial diseases of pond cultured carp and their management strategies. Say this, as Madam has said in her plenary note, like the field of aquaculture. Shall I start my talk? I would like to share my screen. One. Can you see the screen? Can anyone answer? Can you see the screen? Am I audible or not? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see my screen? I am.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I continue with my talk?
Yeah, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. So the topic that I have chosen for today's seminar or webinar is parasitic and bacterial diseases of pond cultured carps and their management. Because for India, this aquaculture is a very so aquaculture is one of the most important aspects as far as India is concerned. Not only India, globally also, aquaculture plays a very important role because it has become a major enterprise in producing fish, shellfish, and many aquatic foods for human consumption. In addition to that, numerous raw and processed products are also being has come out for human use. So that is why that is one of the economically a very important aspect, because it gives a lot of economy to the not only to the whichever country the aquaculture has developed, it gives a lot of boost economically. It is not only that, if you look at the fish, the consumption of the fish, it is an important source of quality animal protein. And you can see that day by day it is been increasing because people are becoming more and more aware of its health benefits, and it is a very good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Not only that, it is a poor man's food also. You can buy it even for a very few rupees also. You can purchase a fish and you can eat. Even the poor man can also depend on it, and the rich people can also depend on it. So anyone can afford to buy it. That is why fish has become a more and more demanding day by day. Now, if you look at the current scenario, more than 40% of the total global fish production, it is contributed by aquaculture, and there are more than 220 species of finfish and shellfish that are being cultured. So, and it is that the human population is continuing, and it will go beyond 7 billion. And there is more and more dependency on the fish production, and because it is a very good source of protein. If you look at the India, just now Madam also said, it ranks second in the world, and it has a production to the tune of 10.73 MMT in the country, and more than 80% of this produce, it is coming through the aquaculture sector. And it is the third largest fish producing and second largest aquaculture nation in the world, only after the China. This position we have been maintaining since a very long time, and it is very to maintain and to keep in a second rank, or in the maybe a few years, after 1 or 2 years, we may reach a first rank position. It's very difficult. It means you can just imagine how much important it is and how much it is adding to our economy. If you look at why the fisheries is important to us, see why the importance of this, and why it is the drawback, the bottleneck, that is the disease that is hampering this. So before we go into our real topic, let us just know why this is very important to us. This field of aquaculture is very important to us. And it is the second major producer through aquaculture, and the fourth largest exporter of fish in the world. And 10% of the total exports from India, and almost 20% of agriculture exports, fish constitute. And the fisheries and aquaculture production contribute about 1% to India's GDP and over 5% to agriculture GDP. 28 million people are employed in this. And it is not only that, it has the potential to employ more and more people in future course of action. And if you look at the Indian scenario, these are the 10 states which are very important, are the largest fish producers. And in that, our Andhra Pradesh is one of the states. Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Goa, Daman, Pondicherry, Odisha, Karnataka, and Maharashtra. And why aquaculture? This freshwater aquaculture, Andhra Pradesh is one of the top states here, because we have a variety of resources in the water bodies like Godavari, Krishna, the Kulleru Lake, and there are a number of canals, tanks, ponds. And this particular slide, it is showing you the areas that are coming under, how much area is there in the form of ponds and tanks, how much is there in the reservoirs. So you can see the figures. So we have large areas that are the large water bodies. We can say that. That is why it is one of the top state in the field of aquaculture. The total fish production in Andhra Pradesh, it is over 4 million metric tons in the, as per the 2020 record. And the fish production provides around 150,000 per acre per year from Katla alone. You can imagine about the other fish. And a single pond in Andhra Pradesh can help to produce 20 tons of fish. And these are some of the fishes which are being cultured in Andhra Pradesh, like tilapia, katla, the marrels, rohu, and all those things. And among these various fishes which are being cultured, we have three. The Indian major carps are very, they are the ones which are being taken up by many people, like labia, rohita, katla, and mrigala. And these are the ones which are very extensively cultured. And of these various ponds which are present here, the 95% of them are present around Kulleru Lake, and mostly they are confined to our Krishna district and also West Godavari district. And Katla and the Rohu are the most dominant fishes. Mrigal is very rarely stocked. So these are some of the fishes which are being cultured to us. All the, like if you look at here in this particular picture, we can see there are 6 species of carps, which occur in Andhra Pradesh. The Katla, Rohu, Mrigal, carp, the common carp, and Idella, Tenoparingodon, and the molluscs. All these are the carps, but all these carps are not important from aquaculture point of view. The 2 species which are very important from aquaculture point of view are the sea, that is Katla and Labia rohita. This shows what are the various major carp producing states in India. So the major constraint, so we have, the picture is very green, no doubt, and the aquaculture is doing a very good job, and because it is giving us a lot of economy, it is adding to our GDP and all that. But there is a bottleneck here, and that is the disease. So there is the sustainability and the development of aquaculture practices are hindered by the constraint that is called as a disease here. And sometimes the loss due to this, it runs in millions and millions of dollars. Just now, madam, I think she was mentioning about some $11 million. So why the disease? How the disease will come? So the disease is having certain factors. Like for a disease, the outbreak of the disease, it depends upon the host, that is the fish. It depends upon the pathogen, that is what is infecting the fish. Is it a parasite? Is it a microbe? Or is it something else? Then it is the environment in which fish is living. So these 3 together, when all the 3 are playing a role of their own, if the fish is, like, say, not very healthy and it is attacked by a pathogen, and the environment is not very favorable, it is having high DO, the pH values are not proper, and its DO values are not proper, there is a lot of temperature, humidity, all these are not, there is a lot of stress also, then all these together will have some impact on the health of the fish. And that will result in what we call it as a problem, that is the disease. So the disease, what is causing the disease? That is, one is intensive culture activity, overfeeding, excessive use of a number of antibiotics or any other drugs, and lack of proper management. If you are not doing a proper management, then it will result in the emergence of diseases. And the disease emergence can be microbial origin or it can be parasitic origin. And what is the ultimate result? There is an emergence of the disease, there is a loss of health to the fish, and consequently there is a mortality and there is an economic loss, because the whole thing is commerce. We want benefit from the why we are culturing fish, because we are getting money. So if you are not looking after the health of the fish properly, then you are getting loss. And when you are getting loss, it is a loss not only to you at individual level, it is to the state, it is to the country. So at a larger picture. That is why it is very important on our part. As we are taking care of our own health, it is also important for us to take care of the health of the fish. That is, we have to understand what is the disease, what is the origin, what is it, and how it is coming, and how it can be controlled. So if we can take care of this, then we can maintain the good health of the fish. So disease is, like, if you look at a brief explanation of the disease, any abnormal condition that affect the health status, isn't it? Even for us also, today we may get, tomorrow we may have a cold and cough. So that is, it is not say, I'm not saying that is a disease, but some abnormality. If you don't take care of that at that level, then it will continue, isn't it? It will continue and you may end up having something else. So that is some abnormal condition that affect the body of an organism. And this abnormality, it can be caused by a number of factors that are of external sources, or that can be of an internal source, or that can be of an environmental sources. So there are 4 categories that are mentioned here. The sources are the stressors that are acting on the physiological state of the fish. Then these can be chemical sources, they can be physical sources, they can be biological sources, or they can be, in that biological only, there can be a number of organisms that are affecting it. If you look at a chemical source, then you have to take care of the water quality, you have to take care of the pollutants, and you have to take care of the metabolic waste. Because fish, when it is feeding, it will also give back the waste. So we have to take care of, we have to see that the fish is living in a good quality water condition. And physical state, temperature, supersaturation of these then stress due to landing, transportation, stocking, or disease treatment. You see you are suspecting a disease and you add a lot of antibiotic, then that is also a kind of a stress, because you are adding or you are giving or you are spray something, some liquid, then you are giving more than that is required. Something that is, as long as it is in its limit, it is good. But if it is more crossing the limits, then it is bad. But though it is good. So biological stress due to population density, it can be confinement, it can be diet composition. Then it can be attacked by a bacterial origin or pathogens, or it can be attacked by parasitic organisms. So yeah, ultimately, when so many stress factors are acting on the fish host, then these stress factors, when they act, they will lower the immune system of the fish. So when the immune system of the fish is low, when it is in a low profile, actually, to say, then it can be easily attacked by either a bacteria or a parasite. Then it will become either a parasitic disease or it may become a bacterial disease infection. So if you look at the overall picture of this, then like we have taken in one of our studies, Colliery Lake as an example, actually. So we have a number of culture ponds in and around Colliery Lake. And the most very commonly or dominantly cultured species are Labia rohita and Katla Katla. And these Labia rohita and Katla Katla, they are attacked by bacterial diseases or diseases of microbial origin, or that they are attacked by parasitic diseases, parasitic origin, and they are attacked by diseases of environmental, like outside environmental origin. So all these things, they lead to the failure of crop due to disease outbreaks. So this failure of crop due to disease outbreak, it can be led to planned scientific investigations are required to prevent the loss to the farmer. This is what the students, this is the term the student has to take care, because if they want to work, if they want to do some research, they can take up how they can be controlled, what strategic methods they can be taken, in some innovative methods to control them, some simple techniques to control these disease outbreaks. So what are those bacterial diseases and what are those parasitic diseases? What is their origin? The bacterial diseases are commonly, they are bacterial hemorrhagic septicemia, bacterial gill disease, columnaris disease, and enteric red mouth disease. There are 4 diseases which are common in culture ponds of Katla or of Labia rohita. And coming to the parasitic diseases, they can be of a protozoan origin, like they can be Myxosporidians or the ceriates. They can be a helminth origin, that is the monogeneans or crustacean origins, or they can be Argillus acnelornia. So there are parasitic origin diseases are 2 types actually, unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular are protozoans, multicellular are helminths and crustaceans. So these are some of the pictures of these parasitic diseases. See, the first one is Argillus, it is affected by this. And then here it is Lernia. And the protozoan Myxosporidian infection, the gills, you can see how they are looking like. And here these are the monogeneans which are there on the gills of the fish. So if you look at parasitic diseases which are of the protozoan species, let us see first that unicellular parasites. So you can, if you look at the pictures, the one what you are seeing is the microscopic nature of this. Because we all know that any thing, what we can say, the protozoans are microscopic because they are unicellular and they are also microscopic. So this Myxosporidia, this is the disease is called as a myxosporiasis, and it is a protozoan disease. It is caused by Myxosporidian spore-forming parasites of protozoan parasites. It is one of the most important group of pathogens, and it is producing disease in fish, and it is responsible for heavy losses in juveniles, particularly juveniles means young ones. Then the mix, how they transmit, they have a cyst of varying sizes, and they are mainly present on the gill region of the Katla. And most of the larger cysts are present at the distal regions, whereas the smaller ones are mostly present at the proximal end of the gill region. Say gill is having two regions, a distal end and a proximal end. So there is always the infection. It has its own pattern. It's not that they are present in a clumsy way. The cysts, the larger ones are present at the distal end inside, whereas the smaller ones are present at the outside. Or you can say that as the cyst matures, it will go inside the gill region, and the more and more younger ones are present on the outer part of the gill region. Once these cysts they rupture, they release this milk whitey fluid containing a number of microscopic spores. You can see the gill region. So the gill is appearing almost like a white milky fluid, and that is nothing but an infection. So because of this infection, what happens is during the heavy infections, the whole gill region will be clogged. So when the whole gill region will be clogged with these microsporidian cysts, then the gill will loses the area for respiration. So when the gill loses its area for respiration, then the fish will suffer from hypoxia. That is, it cannot breathe properly. So then it will also lead to gill hyperplasia, inflammation, and the fish shows emaciation. So that is how the disease, if you allow the disease to spread on the gills, it will spread the entire gill region and it will clog the gill region so that the fish cannot breathe properly and it will have asphyxiation. And then they will also encroach, they will also eat away the gill region so that the area of the gill will become smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can easily diagnose this by looking at it only. Most of, if you have some experience, you can easily tell, and you can see the pinhead size, this gross morphology of the cyst and microsporidian spores under the microscope, and you can diagnose this. It is caused by a microsporidian parasite. So what behavioral changes you can expect here, how it is being done. So fish will become lethargic, they become very slow in their movement, and infected fish may come to surface. They piping air even when pond water has enough dissolved oxygen in it. The gills of infected fish die if dissolved oxygen deficiency is more severe. So small fish with heavy infection may lose balance and swim. They show some erratic swimming behavior because when there is no oxygen level, actually the fish, the most of the abnormal behavior is because of the erratic swimming activity of the fish. So these are some of the behavioral changes which are seen not in fish which are very mildly infected, but in fishes which are very heavily infected, and where the gill region, like we have seen in picture, where the gill region is entirely occupied by these microsporidian cysts. So that is the protozoan infection, which is shown very commonly in some of the cultured ponds. Then coming to helminth infections, like okay, if you look at what is the pathogenicity of this protozoa, they have skin and cellular irritations, abnormal swimming activity, excess mucus secretion, and there are white spots. There are hemorrhages, there are erosions, and there are ulcers. So all these will develop at a very later stages if the infection continues on the fish host. So coming to helminths of fishes, you have there are platyhelminths and nemathelminths where there it is done. So in platyhelminths we have tremators and cystodes, and in roundworms we have larvae and adults. Though infection wise you have a number of them here, but the main cause of mortality, the main danger are monogeneans, because monogeneans are the gill flukes or the external parasites which are responsible for certain mortality in case of the fishes. And these monogeneans, some of the monogeneans are present on the gill region, that is why they are called as the gill flukes, and some of them are present on the skin region, that is why they are called as the skin flukes. So gill flukes and on scales, here there is a mistake. So there is Dactylogaridae and Gyrodactylidae. There are these are the two families of monogeneans into which these flukes generally they belong. And Gyrodactylidae includes skin flukes, whereas the Dactylogaridae it includes gill flukes. And now in today's talk, we will deal with these Dactylogaridae, which are gill flukes, and where the infection is caused by two genera. One is Parodactylogaris and other one is Dactylogaris. So these are in the same thing what I said, that is one is a Gyrodactylus, which is commonly called as a skin fluke, and other one is a dactylovirus, that is a gill fluke. So these are some that is how these flukes look like, whether it is a dactylovirus or a paradactylus. So what you can see very conspicuously here is that there is a posterior part here, and that is called as opisceptor generally. And this posterior part is studded with a number of hooks. There are anchors, there are plates, there are hooks. And that is why when this fluke get attached to the gill region, then they will cause, because of the hook and because of as they cling on to this gill region, they cause a lot of damage to that area. And as the gill get damaged, what will happen? They will have a lot of asphyxiation, because the area for gaseous exchange will be reduced. When the gill gets damaged, automatically the area for oxygen supply will be reduced. So the fish will suffer from asphyxiation. So when these parasites when they infect the fish host, then these fish hosts, the gills will become club shaped. So you can see the gills get attached because there will be excessive mucus secretion. So because of this excessive mucus secretion, the gills will become club shaped. They get attached. So when they get attached, automatically their oxygen supply, they will have the loss of that oxygen supply, and they will excess. So some of the symptoms which you can easily say that, okay, the fish, suppose you have gone to a pond, no, you caught a fish, and when you are holding the fish, it is getting slipped because it is having a lot of mucus, and if you open the gill region, then there is a mucus that is coming out. You can easily say, even without examining the fish, you can say that it is infected with monogenean parasites. It is or a myxosporidium. There is an infection. There is a parasitic infection. So you can examine the gills and you can say that, you can decide what is the infection, and by doing the microscopic examination, you can know the type of the parasite that is being present. So you can see excessive mucus on the gill region. The gills are clubbed, and there is hyperplasia. There is severe emaciation, and there is a mortality. Fish mortality is also very common, because if it continues, no, you are not giving the treatment. The fish, all the gills of the fish are getting closed. Then when all its gills are closed, then it cannot breathe. So it leads to mortality. That is why all of a sudden mass mortality will occur. So that is these mass mortalities is due to the severe infections. See, death here was never due to one or two infections, due to one or two species, one or two individual fruits. It is due to hundreds and hundreds of parasites that are being present on the occupying the gill region. So if the behaviorally also, you can see lethargic movements with the dorsal profile exposed and congregation of cutler. They all move to the surface area. They come to the surface and there they congregate. Then because they want gas for the air, even though they are having a lot of air inside, but because of the infection, they come to the surface and they will move in shoals near the surface region, and suddenly they may show a death en masse. Here you can say paradactyloviruses. The disease that is caused by paradactylovirus cutlei is called as paradactyloviruses. And the arrow mark show that the fish are moving towards the surface, to the edge of the pond. They won't stay in the end of the pond, but they will move towards the edge of the pond. So these to avoid these infections, then people will adapt to water treatment, and they will also go for a oral therapy. Albendazole and its derivatives are generally used for oral therapy, and they will mix these in the water, and they will put fish in that water, and that is called as water treatment. So you can go for either in a water treatment or a oral treatment. Because of this, there will be a lot of economic loss actually, because we have to use a lot of medicine here, and deltamethrin is usually, and the cost of the treatment is also very high. And you have to have a feed treatment, that because you have to alter the feed a bit, and then its flesh will also go down. So like this, any disease, it will cause a economic loss. And if there is a mass mortality, then it is a very heavy economic loss that is caused by this particular infections. So that is paradactyloviruses. So similarly, falling in lines with the paradactylogeresis is dactylogeresis. It is also the same. Only thing is the paradactylogeres, if you look at the fluke, it is very big in its size, whereas dactylogeres species, what we have seen at the beginning here, these two are the dactylogeres. They are very small. It is very difficult to see them, but paradactylogeres is very big, and you can see them with your naked eye. So here it is characterized by the same symptoms like excessive mucus secretion, clubbed gills, and hyperplasia. Only thing is that the parasite size of the parasite is very less, and there are two variants of Dactylogeres laevi and Dactylogeres catla. These two are present. So they generally they are responsible for causing the infection. So if you catch a fish, you take a small scraping from the gill region and you put it on a slide, put a cover slip, observe it under the microscope, and you can see a number of them moving inside. And that is how the infection generally occurs in the parasites. If you start counting the number of the parasites, you will find them in thousands. So if you want to know the parasitic disease, first of all, you have to go for the background of this, where the fish is present, what is the pond water, how, and all those things. Then you have to take into account clinical signs and lesions. And then you have to identify the causative agent. That is, you have to take the scrapings, you observe it under the microscope, and you identify the causative agent. So you can take the scraping, skin and gill mucus scrapings or wet mount, and you can collect the parasite, and you can do the mounting, and you can also observe it, or you can also observe a mucus smear. So these two are helminth infections, what we have seen, paradactylogeres and dactylogeresis. Now coming to another parasite, that is this is also multicellular, and it is a copepod parasite. It is not a helminth parasite. It is a copepod parasite, and it is called as a Argillus. There are two aquaculture point of view. There are two important helminth monogenean parasite, that is paradactylogeres and dactylogeres. From aquaculture point of view, there are two important copepod parasites. One is Argillus and other one is Lernia. So these two are important parasites. And here this is an Argillus. And so if you see the fish, actually you can see these are all the Argillus copepod parasites that are present under the scales. So the whole body will appear very bad, and they will be present throughout the body. So the parasite looks very beautiful. It is, you can see with your naked eye. It has this is the ventral side of the parasite, and you can see the topmost that is the skin of the fish that is studded with the parasites completely. So the whole body of the fish is studded with the parasite, and you can pick up. They have two large egg sacs, and you can easily with a forceps you can pick up these parasites from the fish. Now these are some of the pictures. You can see how the fish is looking. Is it looking good or bad? It's looking very bad, isn't it? Its whole head region is gone completely, and the whole ventral part, the whole body is all, it is like as if we are having some what you can say, a big tumor or some small wounds on the body. So the whole body will be covered by the Argillus copepod parasites. So this first record of this parasite is as long back as in 1987. Then there are two epizootics, uncontrollable, where a lot of fish loss has been occurred. One is in 2000, 2002, and other one is in 2011 and 2012. So their people have, the farmers, they got heavy losses due to Argillus infections. So this is a clinical sign because it attaches to the skin of the fish at the base of the fin by its hook and suckers, because the two large things what you are seeing are the two suckers, and it feeds on the blood. So the fish automatically will become anemic. And when there is a wound and when the fish, the parasite is attached to a particular area, that area will develop into a kind of a wound. So when there is an open wound, what will happen? When there is an open wound, automatically it will attract bacterial infections, secondary infections. So there is already a primary infection by the Argillus, but when the Argillus is causing a lot of hemorrhage and wounds on the body, so those wounds, open wounds, they attract secondary infections by the bacteria. So automatically the fish will be affected both by the Um, by the bacterial infections and also by the parasitic infections. And moreover, the Argillus, it discharges some toxic substances from the poisonous gland, and which is very harmful to the host. So that is also one of the reason why there are a number of hemorrhages on the body. So the behaviorally, like if you there is the fish will become very restless, and when it becomes very restless, it shows a splashing and jumping out of the water, congregation, rubbing against any hard subject. It will rub its body because there will be a lot of itching, and it is lethargic in its swimming activity, and there is a decrease in feed consumption. So there is a behaviorally also it will show a number of changes. And since it is an external infection and the parasites are present on the external surface of the body, you can give both a water treatment. You can dip, you can on this in medicated waters, and so that the parasite will leave and come out of the body of the host. So deltamethrin is used, and because of these various treatments, there is a lot of economic loss also. Orally also you can feed by skin dip treatment, and there are a number of treatments, we will say that. And you can use a number of ivermectin and other drugs, and you can use the treatments. This is a loss due to this particular treatments. And the other parasite is Lernia. Lernia is it is stick-like parasite. You can see them, like by chance, if you come across any infected fish, these Lernia, they are commonly called as anchor worms because they have anchors at their posterior, at their anterior. Sorry. So these are parasites, and the anchor worms can be seen with the naked eye because they almost appear like sticks under the scales, and you can easily pick them up. You can pick up with a forceps, so you can see them. Both Argillus also you can see with your naked eye. So this the disease is called as lerniasis, and this lerniasis is caused. It is characterized by local redness, and there is a flashing movement, and there is a because of this local redness, there is an inflammation of the body, and tiny white, green, or red worms are present in the wound, and it will result in breathing. Some of them, if they are present, because the worms are very big, even very few worms on the gill region will cause breathing difficulties, and that will also in turn lead to lethargic movement of the fish host. So these Lernia, and they are another important group of copepod parasites besides Argillus, which are also responsible for causing a lot of damage to the health of the fish. And they are mainly, since they are very big in their size and they have a pair of anchors with which they get attached to these to these fish, then they cause wounds and they cause a lot of damage, which will automatically attract secondary infections by the bacteria. So these are some more pictures of lerniasis only. Skin will become black in color, black stick-like parasites embedded in the body. So the egg sacs are present generally one pair of egg sacs, and there are hemorrhages, and they are since they are hemorrhages, they attract the other colonial protozoans or also bacterial infections. So there are several treatments for anchor worms in the aquarium pond. Potassium permanganate is usually used, which is a very common, and that is being given as a dip treatment. And there are also salt dip, a formalin dip, and antiparasitics also may help, like albendazoles. And salt, you can add salts, and you can also take the fish by your hand and try to remove these parasites by your hand manually. That will also help the fish to get rid of the parasites, because the parasites are very big. You can see with your naked eye. You can take a forceps and you can slowly remove these parasites from the fish host. So these parasitic infections, which are external mostly, either you take monogynia or you take Argillus or you take Lernia, these are all external infections. They are not present inside the host. They are present either on the gill region or they are present on the skin region or underneath the scales. So you can give them chemical treatment by like a dip treatment, bath treatment, flush treatment, and indefinite bath treatment. That is, bath treatment can be for a prolonged way, or bath treatment can be for a short duration. If you are using high doses of your chemical, then you can give a short treatment. If you are using a mild dose, then you can leave the fish in the bath for a longer duration. Then increase the water temperature for white spot disease, or you change the water facility, the source of the water, or you use a ultraviolet radiation in a recirculating system. In that way also, non-chemically also you can give a treatment to these fishes. The disinfectants that are very commonly used are the potassium permanganate, malachite green, formalin, NaCl, acryflavin, and methylene blue. Pesticides like hydrochlorinated hydrocarbons and organophosphates are also being used. So you can also control them in infected earth ponds. You take the drainage into consideration, dryness and disinfectant using the quicklime. And infected concrete or fiberglass tanks, you do the drainage system and disinfection with strong antiseptics. So that is with respect to parasitic diseases, where we have the most important parasitic diseases in culture ponds are the monogeneans like Paradactylogeres and Dactylogeres. And then the copepod parasites are in the form of Lernia and also Argillus. And in addition to these two, we have protozoan infections by Myxosporidians. Now coming to the bacterial diseases, we have two types of bacteria generally, gram-positive and gram-negative, which vary in their cell wall nature. So these the infection can be due to gram-positive bacteria, or they can be gram-negative bacteria. But mostly we have gram-negative bacteria here. So if you take the gram-negative bacteria, these are Vibriosis, Aeromoniasis, Pseudomoniasis, Edwardsiasis, and Flavobacteriasis. These are some of the infections that we will see. Some of the bacterial infection caused by these parasites. And there are also some gram-positive, but these are not very common in Andhra Pradesh for us. So the first infection, which is very common and which we have done a lot of work, is one or two. There are two important bacterial infections. Although we have mentioned 4 here, but 2 are important. One is septicemia, hemorrhagic septicemia, and other one is bacterial gill disease. So this hemorrhagic septicemia, it is caused by Aeromonas hydrophila, and it is an opportunistic pathogen, and it produces a number of toxins. And because of these various things, it causes systemic infection, in the sense the entire fish host, inside the fish host, there will be a lot of damage. We will see that. And it affects many varieties of fishes. Not that it is present only in Katla or Rohu, but it can affect a number of fish hosts. And yes, there will be there are like several $1 billion of loss due to the in the fish hosts. So these are some of the pictures which are showing infections with this. And in the first one, you can see the mouth region and the region of the mouth, eye orbit and operculum. So once the fish is infected with Aeromonas hydrophila bacteria, together with Pseudomonas fluorescens, see, hemorrhagic septicemia is caused both by Aeromonas hydrophila and also Pseudomonas fluorescens. These two are the bacteria that are involved in the infection. So once they are infected with this, and if we have not taken proper care, then they cause a lot of hemorrhage. And these hemorrhages, they start in the mouth region, and there you can see the whole mouth has become red in color. Then there is a diffuse hemorrhage in the pelvis, pectoral and anal regions, and the ventral side, the base of the pectoral fins are completely hemorrhagic. Now you can see the gut region. If you open the gut, then you can find them a very enlarged gut region. Then the gill regions are completely clogged. Gills are also present. A lot of hemorrhages are present on the gill region. So these are all some specific clinical signs of the signs and symptoms of the disease called hemorrhagic septicemia that is caused by Aeromonas hydrophila. Now, if you look at these two pictures, like here it is all the internal organs, they got liquefied because of the bacterial infections. And here you can see spleen, which is very large in its size. The spleen will increase in its size. So these are some of the specific characteristic features of the infections due to Aeromonas hydrophila and Pseudomonas fluorescens, and the disease is commonly called as hemorrhagic septicemia. Now, the second disease that is important is bacterial BGD. We commonly call it bacterial gill disease. That is also present in Labia rohita and Katla, and it is caused by Flavobacterium branchophylla. And it releases some kind of a pigment. That is why the fish will become somewhat black in color. And the name itself is gill disease, because they mainly affect only the gill region. And it is mostly common when the temperatures are low, that is during the winter region. And it affects a wide range of fishes, and it causes a lot of economic loss to the aquaculture industry. So you can see these pictures of the gill disease. There is a mass mortality due to BGD here in labia rohita. And the lesions on the gill region, because the gills are affected, so there is necrosis, there is hyperplasia, and there is a clubbing of the gills. And the fish will also looks very emaciated, and there will be black appearance on the gill region. And this black appearance is more common in columnaris than in BGD. So that is how here it is not a systemic infection, but this infection is restricted mostly to the gill region. Advercellosis, this is another disease that is caused by Advercella tarda and Advercella echoluri. And here also, like they will have the red streaks are present on the entire surface of the body, on the ventral side of the body, or on the surface of the body, or near the anal region. They sometimes people will mislead them as that is septicemia, but this is caused by another genus called Advercella. Another one that is called enteric red mouth disease. The name itself shows that it is a disease that is caused by an enteric group of pathogens, that is Yersinia rubri. And here they mostly restrict only to the head region. So the head will become very red in color. That is why it is called as an enteric red mouth disease. The mouth appears very red in color. So if you left untreated, then they are responsible for causing a lot of mortality. And the main thing is, since these are bacterial infections, you need to use some antibacterial bacteria. So, but over a period of time, what happened is that these diseases, they have overcome these bacteria, so they become resistant to the bacteria, to the antibiotics. So there are 19 antibiotics that are used in BGD. There are 22 antibiotics that are used in hemorrhagic septicemia, and 21 antibiotics that are used in this columnaris disease. So they have, like, these are all the list of the antibiotics to which they have become resistant. In addition to these two varieties of the diseases, we also have the diseases that are caused by environmental factors. So we have some bacterial diseases. Important among them are septicemia and also bacterial gill disease. So these are some of the diseases which are caused by DO depletion, and this is a destratification of the pond, loss of pigment in the rohu, and there is acute DO depletion, mass mortality, toxic phytoplanktons that are present, and there is a pollution, there is a phytoplankton crash. So all these are also responsible for a lot of mortality, not a number, a lot of mortality. Like here, the oxygen depletion is causing a lot of mortality. When there is no oxygen, fish automatically cannot survive. So the gills will become clubbed and they causes a lot of mortality. And here the disease related aspects, and the inside part of the whole intestines will become clogged. And they are mostly excessive uses of this feed also responsible sometimes for the death of the fish. And that is what oral therapy, you continuously feed and you add bags and bags of feed to the water will become contaminated, and it may cause a lot of death. And here phytoplankton, sometimes there are toxic blooms in phytoplankton. So these toxic blooms, they release some toxic elements, and that is responsible for the mortality of the fish. The stock, the genetic vigor, health status, age, size, quantity, the brood fish and seed quality, they are also important, and they are also responsible for the health status of the fish actually. And excessive use of drugs and chemicals, you use excessively, and that will change the water parameters, and automatically that will affect the health status of the fish. So excessive use of drugs and chemicals also cause a pigmentation and all those things. And so the problems, one is inbreeding, and they reduce the genetic vigor of the major calves. And if there are lack of knowledge on the epidemiological factors, and influence of weather and environmental problems on the fish disease. So if you are not aware of some of these factors, then you won't take them into consideration. So it may lead to what we are calling it as a disease. First of all, you have to identify what are the factors that are responsible for the emergence of a disease. Once you identify the factors that are responsible for the emergence of the disease, then you can go to control those infections. So you can do practical aspects of disease control, developing disease-resistant varieties, integrated disease control strategies, life cycle of the important parasites, efficacy of the therapeutic drugs, and making farmers more aware of these various factors. So some of you can take up these, and you can do a lot of studies on this, and you can come out with some novel ideas, which will be of some benefit to the fish farmers. The outcome is less disease, more profit, more employment, more food security, more enhanced growth, and they conserve the genetic resources of the fish. So that is how, from the disease to the health, that is the benefit that you will get at the end of it. So it is very important to see that the fish remains healthy. It is important to see that you maintain proper environment and proper water quality and everything, so that the fish is not affected with any kind of a disease and it stays healthy. So thank you very much for this. This is what I hope you followed. What are the various diseases that are very common in culture ponds, are very common in mainly in two highly cultured fishes, that is Katla Katla and Labia rhotica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. It's really highly informative, and I hope all the participants have got a fruitful thing from this particular plenary talk. Thank you so much, madam. In spite of your busy schedule, you have accepted the invitation and you have enlightened the students, madam. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Deepika, and for all your efforts. And thank
you.
the head of the department, and your college is doing very well. So you are training girl students, so that is the most important aspect. So we have to show them a right way. I hope some of the students will get interest in this field and take up their studies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I request G. Divyasri Madam to introduce Rajdeep Mukherjee sir.
Thank you, madam. Good morning to everyone. It's my privilege to introduce the young, estimate, brilliant personality, Mr. Rajdeep Mukherjee, who is contributing service to fishery sector over 20 years. His major contributions to the nation are in the area of development of fisheries policies, evolution of government program, climate change adaptations, and blue economy. Currently, he is working as policy analyst, Bay of Bengal program, intergovernment organization at Chennai. We are grateful for accepting our invitations and make your presence. Now I invite you, sir, to enlighten the participants regarding sustainable management of aquatic resources, economic perspectives. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I rarely get chance to meet students and futures of research sector in India. And I think this will be a great opportunity for me to learn from all of you. If I'm right, most of the participants here are students. Please feel free to talk to me when I'm presenting. No issues. Can you see my screen? Okay. Since I have joined late, and sorry for that, can someone give me a bit brief about who are the participants here mostly?
Most of the participants are students and scholars.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I was telling, that I do not get much opportunity to interact with the students and scholars.
Sir, audibility is low.
Uh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, somewhat better.
Okay. As I was telling, that I do not get much opportunity to interact with the students and scholars, and I hope that I will get some chance to interact with you. So please feel free to stop me if you have any questions in between the presentations, and I'll try to make it kind of an interactive presentation. So the issue I'll be talking today is about sustainable management of aquatic resources from an economic angle. I come from an organization called Bay of Bengal Program. Some of you might have heard about it. It's a regional fisheries body. We work in the 4 countries: Bangladesh, India, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Our focus mainly on marine fisheries, and we are also work on coastal aquaculture, mariculture, and seaweed farming, these areas. And if some of you are interested, then we have some this fellowship opportunity within the organization. You are welcome to visit our website and see what we are doing, and if interested, you can also apply for joining us. So if you look at the global fisheries production since 2000, these are the major sectors that happening in the global fisheries: marine capture production, marine aquaculture, inland aquaculture, then inland capture, and marine aquaculture, specifically mariculture. And in terms of growth, the growth is now coming from the mariculture sector. They are the fastest growing sector, whereas the marine capture production, which is the major supplier of fish to the global population, is actually declining. And if we go by the stock reports, the natural limits and everything, we can see that the marine capture fisheries is already at the limit. We do not have much scope to increase production as far as marine capture production is concerned. So with the growing population and growing demand for fish and fish product, the additional requirement is to be met by the aquaculture. But how do we develop aquaculture? Obviously, there's a technical angle. I heard the part of the last presentations. So ma'am beautifully explained that how you need to control about the disease and other things to make it more sustainable. But there's another angle, that who will take the decision that what to do and what not to do. So my presentation is mostly focused on that part, that who can take the decision and how they make the decisions. Now, in terms of global fisheries or global aquaculture, so there's a shift towards sustainable aquaculture. We are talking about sustainable aquaculture more and more, and we are coming up with new ideas and methodologies to ensure that aquaculture is sustainable. You must have heard about emerging trends like circular aquaculture, then precision aquaculture, or One Health program, which are different way to promote sustainability in aquaculture. There is also another angle of the whole thing. Since the pressure on land is increasing, and land we cannot increase, it's a limited resource. So we are trying to grow aquaculture now in the water. So in the future, the prospect of aquaculture rise mostly on the seas and nearshore waters, where we can have mariculture, cage culture, seaweed farmings, and other options to boost fisheries production. If you look at the species that at the global level, you can see that the growth is coming again from seaweed as I said, that because the mariculture is the most promising sector, it seems to be that whole global development effort is now moving towards seaweed farming, mariculture, since they have quite a possibility to include the community, especially women in these sectors, and kind of build a community wealth. I guess that if you, most of you are familiar with shrimp aquaculture, which is kind of a key sector in Andhra Pradesh. And the shrimp aquaculture, if you look at it, it's mostly at the individual farmers level. And there are some big companies which are interested in shrimp farming. As such, there is lack of a community model in shrimp farming in India. There are some efforts going on, like creating of fish farmers, producers organizations, and other things. But the overall structure is still kind of an person-driven, individual-driven sector. The problem with the aquaculture strategy that we are following, or we probably follow in the future coming days, is that when you do aquaculture, you are kind of blocking one area for the use. So you are displacing the competing user. You must be here that you must all know that when aquaculture was developing initially in India, there are a lot of conflicts between the farmers and the aqua farmers, that when the farmers are complaining that aquaculture is destroying their land and everything. There are also conflict between the mangrove users and aquaculture. Similarly, when we go to ocean or seas to do aquaculture, there will be conflict with the fishes. In addition to that, there could be pollution and a modification of ecosystem. There are high risk of that aquaculture will be introducing some new species which are not indigenous to the system. And these species might get released in the natural environment, creating an effect. Plus, there are diseases and parasites which can transmit from the aquaculture to the wild fish stocks. Plus, the aquaculture needs a lot of feed, and the most of it comes from the fish stocks, which are low-value commercial fish stocks. If you have seen any fishing harbor, you can see that trawlers are bringing a lot of catch that are not fit for human consumption. Most of them goes for fish meal production. It kind of creates a circle that since there's a high demand for fish meal in India, so trawlers are encouraged to do kind of unsustainable farming, unsustainable fishing. They target this low-value fish stocks. We don't know exactly what's the ecological impact of such practices. Overall, the global experience shows that when such practices persist, it creates a depletion of fish stocks throughout the value chain, throughout the food chain of the fishery sector. These things are very much into the media. So this is just one example where there's an issue of whether Sundarban, which is one of the biggest mangrove forests of the world, how it will react to the aquaculture development in the same area. So we kind of come to a question that how do we balance the different effect of aquaculture? That one thing is that how do we contribute to the development of the country, or to the food security, to the community development, to the environmental sustainability, and to sustainability of itself over time. When we come to economic sustainability, the definition says that it's the allocation of scarce resources in such a way that it creates economic profit. And that profit can be reinvested into the system to make it more robust, more sustainable for the future generation. And there are two types of sustainability. One is the weak sustainability and one is the strong sustainability. In terms of weak sustainability, it kind of incentivizes the property rights regime, and it kinds of assume that natural capital can be replaced with the man-made capital. If you are following the news, you can see that there are some innovations now where the technology can produce oxygen from the air, same function that trees are doing now. So this is an example where the man-made capital machine is replacing the natural capital, the trees. And another example which is not related to environment, but more close to us, is that how this artificial intelligence is replacing human users. So human users you can consider as a kind of a natural capital. We are born with this capital, our brain, our labor, and everything. But artificial intelligence have some possibility, have some scope to replace much of the users. So when we are talking about weak sustainability, we assume that it's possible to replace the natural capital with the man-made capital. If you think in terms of what's the impact of that, so that impact is quite great. If you believe in that the natural capital is replaceable, then you actually do not need to protect mangrove. You can have a seawall instead of a mangrove to protect you from sea erosion or the storms and other things. You do not need kind of an environmental sustainable practices, since whatever the damage we have done to the environment, that can be replaced with the man-made capital. As we make more money, we can have better technology to replace them. And overall, it kind of lead to a short-term focus that we are basically focusing on our own betterment, our own improvement, without worrying about what will be happening to the future of the earth. The other end of spectrum is the strong sustainability, where it's assumed that the natural capital cannot be replaced by the man-made capital. So in that regime, if you have to make a choice between a mangrove or a seawall, you will choose mangrove, because seawall cannot replace the mangrove. Mangrove has a lot of other functionality. It contributes to fish production. It contributes to oxygen generation, soil creation, and everything, which cannot be done by seawall. So actually, man-made capital cannot replace the natural capital, and it will be so much cost prohibitive. Can you follow me so far? Is there any question? Okay.
No, sir, please continue.
Silence is good. But do you discuss about the property rights issues in the your curriculum? Okay. To move ahead, what are the property right regime in the aquaculture? So there are actually 4 types of property right regime. One could be the private property right, when the land is owned by a person. There are clear titles that he or she owns the land. There could be a common property regime. It's mostly, if you see village tanks and ponds, they are the common property rights. The community of the village community owns that land and everybody is responsible. Then there could be a state property right. The forest basically are the state property, and if you want to exploit them, you need to get permission from the state. Fisheries as such is a state property. And finally is the open access. So open access is very difficult to give example from the land or near sea, near shore water. But if you go beyond the water boundaries or the maritime zones of the countries, you will get the open seas or the high seas, which are basically the open access resources. Anybody can do anything there. There's as such no regulation prohibiting any economic activity or exploitation in this open seas water. The atmosphere is another open access. You can pollute it, you can do anything about it, and no law is there to kind of access the damage or penalize any negative activity. Now, how do they affect the sustainable and sustainable use of aquaculture? If you look at the blue arrows, so private property right will give you an incentive to have an efficient use of the resources. If you own an aquaculture farm, you will try to ensure that you harvest it properly and then pass it on to your next generations. And so you are supposed to, you probably will manage it very in a healthy and manner. So you will take all the precautions to make it sustainable. In case for a common property like village pond and other things, if there are strong local governance, the community is very strong, they have their own rules and regulation, then it will lead to a sustainable practices. Same with the state property right. If the forests are protected properly, the forest guards are there, they are doing their job properly, and there are rules and regulation, then it will lead to a sustainable uses. But in case these things are not there, to start with, you own a aquaculture farm, but you want to move to IT business. So you may follow an harvesting practice, a farming practice, which is very rewarding in the short term, very intensive, so that you can make a lot of money and then you dispose of the pond and you kind of create an IT farm or something there. So in case of an weak regime, this property right can lead to an unsustainable use of aquaculture. In case of common property, if the community is not strong, then they will lead to an unsustainable use. If you know about the story, there's some beautiful story on that. That one king decided that he will create a pond full of milk. So he asked everybody that please donate just one pot of milk to the pond. And one smart person thought that okay, nobody's watching, so why should I donate milk, which is costly? Let me just donate one pot of water. Nobody will notice it. But unfortunately, everybody thought the same thing, and ultimately that milk pond, which is supposed to be a pond of milk, become a pond of water, because everybody thought that nobody's watching, and they donate one pot of water. So same thing happens for the common property. When the community regime is weak and nobody is watching, people will try to overexploit them, take their own profit, and in the process, they will be destroying the resources. In case of state property also, when the government rules and policies are not strong or there are high level of corruption, people will be using them for their own purpose. So like there are a lot of incidents when the forest covers are exploited. The forests are degraded despite them being under the state protection. And nothing could be done about that, since there are instances of corruption and high level involvement and everything. In many cases, government policies are such that they might take the land for some other purposes and kind of create a property which leads to the destruction of natural capital. For example, when the fishing harbors are constructed, the government may not consider what are the impact on the natural ecosystem. Now we have balance and checks in place. Like when you are constructing a fishing harbor, you need to consult with the community, you need to take environmental clearance. So such policies are in place in India. But imagine if such policies are not there and anybody can do anything. So what will happen to the coastal environment? Finally, the open access, theoretically, it will always lead to an unsustainable practice. But if we can assure some state property right or common property right for the open access, it can again become a sustainable fishing practice. When we look at the this India's inland water resources, I have not went into very much details here, but if you look at the inland water resources available to India, you can see that the most of the water resources that we have are at the hand of the people. They are mostly the common property or the state property resources. And the mechanism we follow, that we auction them or we kind of give them on lease to the private players to carry out sustainable fish farming. But assume one thing, like there's a state pond is there and the government give it on a lease to a private entrepreneur or a private farmer. But the lease is only for 5 years. And the farmer is not sure that whether he will get the lease again after 5 years or not. So what he will do? Should he maintain it sustainably, or should he try to exploit it as much as possible so that he can make most of the money from the lease in 5 years? So such type of decisions we make depending on the property right design. Now, again, assume that the same thing is there. The government is giving on a lease, but there's a penalty clause is there. That if after 5 years, the condition of pond is worse than the condition when it was given for lease, there's a penalty. So then the farmer, the practice the farmer will follow will change considerably. So depending on how do we define the property rights and how do we implement them, our choice of fishing farming practice, what sustainable practice will be implementing the farming are all changed. Let me clear about one thing, that when you take a sustainable fishing practice, it's costly. You have to make, will be kind of making less money and than an unsustainable fishing practice in most cases. It will not last. It will probably last for a few years only. But in case you are only looking for few years, kind of very land windfall profit, then you don't need to follow a sustainable fishing practice unless there is a very strong regulatory design to control that. So when you are thinking about developing aquaculture in India and how to sustainably use the aquatic resources, we need to look very carefully that what's happening to the property design and whether the regulations are in place to control the negative impact or kind of an opportunistic behavior from the people who will be using it. Especially when we come to India, India has kind of two types of property right. One is the customary right. Each community have their own system of resource management, and one is the state-sponsored right. These customary rights are developed over millennia or 1,000 years, and they usually prefer kind of a strong sustainability. If you are familiar with any customary right, I can give example from fisheries only, not from aquaculture. If we look at our rituals, very many rituals that you consume one fish on one particular season. So there are some, most of them are within the religious stricture or something, but they are very much social suggestions that you should not consume this fish on this period or something. And most of these institutions or the rules, that social norms are matching with the breeding period and other things of those fish. One NGO came up with a fish calendar that shows that there are very strong linkage between our traditional practice of eating one fish on one season with their breeding pattern and other things. So they prefer as such the strong sustainability, that they don't want to replace the natural capital with the human capital. But when we come to market-based distribution, when we come to our how to make a rapid development, we often forget about the natural capital, and we prefer kind of a weak sustainability. We assume that what time we'll make enough money to make up for the loss of natural capital. So both of these things are true. Now, if you go with only strong sustainability, you can do any development project in say coastal areas. Most of them will be prohibited. So we kind of need to strike a balance between the weak and strong sustainability. And when probably after study, after research, when you are in government or in private or in some other places, you have to make these decisions that how can I balance different aspects of sustainability, so that neither the development is hampered, more people are there, so they have their employment and income, but also the environment that we have inherited from our forefathers, they also maintain their sanctity. If you are following the news, you know that recently there's a promotion of seaweed farming in India. Seaweed farming in India is quite old. It's a very traditional activity, but it's a very low scale activity carried out in few places, mostly around Tamil Nadu, Mandapam Coast and other things, and somewhere in some places in Gujarat. So there is a policy both at the central government and the state governments to boost seaweed farming in India. again, as I show that globally seaweed is a huge sector which is growing very rapidly, and there is an immense possibility from pharmaceuticals, from food and everything. Now, it has a lot of developmental impact. It can provide occupation for the coastal population. It can lead to carbon sequestration, and especially it can give an employment to the women population, which is and kind of mainstream the women in economic activities. So there are a lot of good virtues of the seaweed farming in India. But what are the property right issues when you are considering the seaweed farming? First thing is that it's a common pool resource. Nobody owns the seaweed farming. So when we are promoting seaweed farming, we need to take care that whether it should not lead to overuse or exploitation of the resource, and it shouldn't be depleted. Then there are conflicts between the ownership and tenure pattern. Now, whether the right should hold by the community or we should allow companies and the private players to come and take the seaweed farming. And what happens that when you go for an very much growth-oriented policy, you may ask a company to do a seaweed farming, and they will have their own mechanism which may alienate the community which is traditionally doing seaweed farming from the access to the seaweeds. Thus, when we are doing seaweed farming in commercial aspect, there are a scope of environmental impact. Especially in Gulf of Mannar, there is a lot of conflict over promoting of seaweed farming. The environmental group claim that seaweed farming will lead to invasion of foreign species, and this will kind of impact the natural fauna of the Gulf of Mannar. Although there are not strong evidence of such invasion by the foreign species, but these are some concerns raised. So when we are developing seaweed farming, if we have to make a policy, how do we take care of that so that everybody have their own say in the policy and the ultimate structure or the roadmap that we develop for seaweed farming takes care of these issues. Finally, to sum up that, if you have followed me so far, that how we manage our aquatic resources, how we develop our aquaculture will much depends on the property design. This is basically something that you don't see, you don't consider in many times, but they are the kind of like the skeleton of the whole structure. And if the skeleton is faulty, then the whole body that will be developed based on the skeleton will be faulty. So we need to make a lot of decisions that how do we involve the community when developing the aquaculture, and whether we should develop common pool properties and build community institutions to sustainably manage the aquaculture, or we should go for a market-based private property approach, whether we should have the state property only and should just give lease the aquatic resources to the people to do farming. How do we develop all these policies are very much will very much determine that what is the future of aquaculture in India. If you have most of you are familiar with the aquaculture development in India, I hope, and if you look at the initial boost when the coastal shrimp aquaculture was started in India, it was done with a kind of a public-private partnership. The government encouraged them to do this Banamai shrimp farming and help them to do Banamai, which kind of changed the whole scenario of shrimp farming in India. And in the process, we make a choice that this should be a kind of a private driven initiative. But later, when we look at what's the impact of the shrimp farming in the community income and other things, we find that there are many issues are there. So subsequently, rules and regulations came, like the Coastal Aquaculture Authority, which limited the choices for the private entrepreneurs. They put some regulations on which land can be acquired for shrimp farming, whether agricultural land can be converted for shrimp farming, whether mangrove forest can be converted for shrimp farming, and many other things. So with these regulations, if you look at the impact of these regulations, soon after the introduction of the pandemic, the people went for intensive sheep farming, and it led to diseases, outbreak, and everything, which kind of collapsed the sheep farming for time being. But as soon as this regulation came into place and they were kind of implemented over the coastal region, now our sheep farming in terms of disease control and whether we should use of antibiotics, use of pollution, it's much more sustainable. So this is kind of a very positive impact on the whole sheep farming sector in India. And we can see that how we can redefine the property right through rules and regulation to make them very much sustainable. So these are kind of things that we usually do not consider when we are developing an aquaculture development plan. We do consider the market, we consider the technology, we consider the how to manage the health and other things of the aquaculture, but we forget finally that how to make the decisions about who will be the beneficiary from the aquaculture and what will be the impact of aquaculture on environment in the long term and what will be leaving for our next generation. So these are the things that I would like to discuss with you. I hope I am within my time, and I'll be very happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Now I request the participants to ask the questions. If you have any queries, then you can clarify. Can anyone from the participants?
Hello, good morning, sir. Sir, it was a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Sir, actually, your institute is considered with this culture programs or practices of mariculture, sir, or seaweed culture.
Yes.
Sir, you provide various programs to the fishermen, or these are the government programs sponsoring?
We work both with the government and the fishermen. For example, recently we had the seaweed conference in Tamil Nadu on
Yes.
how to promote seaweed farming in Tamil Nadu. So both were there.
Sir, you offer training to students and fishermen also.
Yeah, fishermen, depending on the basis of their need and other things.
Okay, sir. Sir, if students want, they can visit, sir.
Our office.
Yes, sir. To know
Yeah.
the programs.
They are most welcome.
Okay,
And,
sir.
we will be there in Kakinada from 25th onwards. So if any of you are in Kakinada, you can come and meet us.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I guess
Any
most of
other
you are
queries?
from science background. So what I talked about may not be something that you usually read. But in any case, if you later join the government or a private, especially if you later join the government, these issues are something that you need to deal with. And if I could have make any of you interested, that will be the my take home from the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Really, the talk was spellbound and highly informative for the faculty as well as the researchers and the students. Actually, we
Thank you.
are from the science background. Though we are from the science background, you have enlightened the talk from the economic point of view. Actually, we doesn't know the property rights in order to have a sustainable management of aquaculture. But today, because of your talk, we are able to get awareness regarding the particular property rights. And thank you very much, sir. And I'm
Thank you,
very happy to see you again after a long back after the COVID.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my email address is there in the. So if you have any questions in the future, now or in the future, please feel free to contact.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, sir. So that right now, you are dealing with the seaweed culture also?
Yeah, we are dealing with the seaweed culture.
So at CMFRA, they are doing the seaweed culture.
Yeah, they are basically providing the technology, but we are more into the policy aspect.
So is there any difference between the policy aspect and that the culture they are performing at the CMFRA?
No, you see, all technologies are good. I will give you a. I try to give you a simple example. You know, if you look at the houses in India, they are very clean. We take very good care of our houses. But if you look at the streets, they are not clean in most of the places. So this is what we mean by property right. Your house, you own it. So if people come there, if it's not clean, then you will get a good bad name. So you clean it. But street is belong to everyone. So you do not. I mean, not you. We do not take care of the streets. So technology is same. That broom is the technology for cleaning both house and the street. But how do you use it? That's the question. So what we are trying to do in BOP is that ensure that whether it's a house or street, we use the broom for its actual purpose. That's for cleaning. So that's what we're trying to do.
Is there any chance for the institutes to have MOU with the intergovernment sector?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Is there any chance for the institutes, educational institutes,
Yeah.
to have MOU with the intergovernmental sectors? That means you
Yeah. We just signed an MOU with the Priest University, and we are very much, we have a research program, fellowship program. So where the senior researchers, the professors, and other people are the fellows of the organization, and the students can come as a PhD scholar or as a interns who work in the organization, especially if they are looking at an international aspects, regional aspects of fisheries and aquaculture, then they're most welcome. So we'll be happy to sign an MOU with you, and maybe we can take it forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
So I think there's no further questions. So I'm actually at the road, so I'll be taking my leave now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I request M. Thasma Madam to introduce Dr. P.H. Manjulata Madam. It's my sheer pleasure to introduce a dynamic, multifaceted, committed researcher, teacher, Dr. C.H. Manjulata, who was excelled in impacting education to the students. She did her MSc Zoology from Utkal University, Vani Vihar, Orissa in 2003, and PhD under the able guidance of Professor D.E. Babu in 2017. She had 16 years of teaching experience and published 8 papers in reputed national journals. She was selected by Odisha State Selection Board in 2016, and at present she working at Nachuri Degree Mahavidyalaya, Nachuri, Khurda, Odisha. Now I request you, ma'am, to deliver to talk regarding new advancements in mariculture. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope I am audible.
Yeah, it's audible, ma'am.
So very good afternoon. So respected P. Bhaskar sir, Chief Patron Commissioner at Collegiate Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Respected P. Raghav Kumari Madam, Principal SKR Government Degree College. Organizing Secretary Priyanka Madam and In charge Zoology Department. Organizing Committee members Divyashri Ma'am, Deepika Ma'am, Kasma Ma'am, Bharti Ma'am, Sharon Ma'am, other delegates, invited resource persons Shami Ma'am and Banerjee Sir, researchers, colleagues and students. So greetings to all of you. So congratulations to the organizing committee that they have organized a wonderful webinar. So after the two wonderful presentations of Shami has been left for me. Still then I will try to show my presentation, and whatever doubts you will be having, I will try to clear. My topic will be mariculture and overview, advancements and Indian scenario. Before that, so myself, Dr. C. Manjulata, so working as lecturer in zoology in Nachudi Mahavidyalaya. So ma'am, I think my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am.
So let me start with my topic.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
So the mariculture, which is a very common and emerging field of aquaculture. So I will be completing my topic in the following subheadings, such as definition, significance, mariculture and aquaculture, constraints, types of mariculture, diversification in species, mariculture scenario in India, advancements in mariculture, marine case culture technique in a nutshell, conclusion and some future perspectives. So let me start with the definition. So mariculture can be said an activity in which aquatic organisms, both plants and animals, are cultured in a confined environment, particularly in water medium. So the aquatic medium may be marine completely, or it may have some infusions of various freshwater and brackish water uses. Agriculture involves farming of plants, animals for food, medicine, for industrial applications such as I was telling about seaweed, ornamental fisheries. We can say mariculture as an organized culture of marine organisms, particularly for the food purpose. So now let us see about the importance of mariculture, why we are discussing a lot about mariculture nowadays. So mariculture can be said as an important producer of aquatic food in coastal areas, particularly. It is a source of employment and income for many coastal communities. If it is well planned and well managed, mariculture can also contribute positively to the coastal environmental integrity. Apart from augmenting seafood production, mariculture also provides a sustainable livelihood for the poor farmers. Then experts have been in a view that if development and promotion is in a right way, we can have a raise of fish at sea, and which can generate a large to the global food security. So let us see about the two terms, that is mariculture and aquaculture. As we all know, aquaculture involves culturing of both freshwater and marine water organisms, and the only marine water culture is known as mariculture, where we can say mariculture is a type of aquaculture in the marine environment where culturing of fish, prawns, oysters, pullets in marine water for commercial purpose are taken place. So it is a specialized branch of aquaculture which involves cultivation of marine organisms in open ocean or enclosed in an area of ocean, tank, pond, or seawater. So let us see the problems of mariculture. So as the water is continuously in state of flow in a marine environment, maybe due to tides, currents, or wind action, which might have some problem, construction of enclosures where the organisms have to be reared. It may have some added advantage where the flow of oxygen and distribution of elements is even for the organisms. But, the construction of enclosures become somewhat problematic where the cases wall have to be made along with the metal wires, along with synthetic material. The material must be, the case wall material must be corrosion resistance. Then another problem is that have to take in account of the number of organisms. Hello? Ma'am, I think I am audible.
Yeah, madam, now it's audible. Due to some
Ma'am, I think I am audible. Hello?
it was somewhat disturbed. Now it was audible.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, so let us go for the types of mariculture. So as we have seen, we can have two types of mariculture, like in farming system and feeding strategy. In the farming system, we can have extensive, semi-intensive, and intensive cultures. And as far as feeding strategy goes on, we have to take about the supplementary diet sources for the mariculture. So now let us see, we know that fish farming is much more done in mariculture, which can be both in the extensive and intensive mode. So these are some pictures, later on we'll discuss. So aquaculture can be subdivided into various headings such as mariculture, then your haline culture, brackish water culture, what sir was telling about, then freshwater culture. So for mariculture, we can have floating cage, rafts and cages, racks, poles, long line, on bottom, and nylon webbing with artificial reef. So now let us see about different kinds of mariculture depending on the type of species or diversification of species. So let us go to the first one, that is the most common mollusk culture. So the mollusks cultured in mariculture are bivalves, which may have brood stock supply, that is seed supply, or we can have also the brew out supply in hanging, rat culture, and bottom culture. So the young oysters are called as pats. So actually, for the first culture of pearl oyster in India was taken place in CMFRI, which is Pinctada fucata, the species. Then some edible oysters are also cultured, that is Crassostrea madrasensis. We have seen experiments on rope culture on green mussel, that is Parna viridis, which is conducted in CMFRI. Then various calm cultures are also taking place, such as Meristic casta, Andara granosa. So after the molluscan culture, so now let us go about the crustacean culture. So crustaceans are cultured as the second largest mariculture resources. So where we have brood stock or seed supply, then grow outs, which are cultured in earthen ponds, concrete raceways, then tanks. Then culture of Sella serrata, the most common crab, is also seen faster in the natural condition. Lobsters such as Panulirus homarus, Panulirus ornatus, Panulirus polyphagus are also cultured. And now coming to the prawn, So prawn culture is, I can see, much more easier and much more wider in mariculture, because prawn, they are omnivorous, they feed on detritus food, the algae at the bottom, the live microorganisms. There is a constant trapping of the prawn for culture is essential, as they do not escape. Then the harvestment is from post larva to market size. The prawns, they are polycultured along with some herbivorous fishes such as mullets or milkfish. In rural areas, prawn culture starts with juvenile rather than post larvae stage, particularly at the coastal places of Andhra Pradesh in Orissa also. So actually in Japan, intensive constant circulation system is adopted where female lays eggs which are hatched, which are grown in control and then sell at the high cost. So now coming to the finfish culture, the second largest mariculture. So the finfish are cultured as broodstock or for seed supply, and they are also cultured in the grown out stage in cage. So the finfish culture can be of two types, that is inshore and offshore, where the cages can be fixed, which can be floating, which can be submerged. So see, now I am showing you the slide where we have this case culture. This is the sponge culture. These are the sea cucumber. So these are the crabs. These are the mussels which are vertically cultured. We can see the clams or mussels, they are cultured in a vertical line, rope culture. So now coming to the inshore cases of finfish culture, which are protected in shallow areas with less water, and when we go for offshore cases, they are located in the deep water in open areas which are protected from storm with better water exchange. So actually a typical fish pond system consisting of some basic ingredients such as pond compartmentalization by dikes, canals, supply and drainage of water, gates, and for water control. So the major finfish groups of mariculture include salmons, amberjacks, sea breams, sea basses, croakers, groupers, drums, mullets, turbot, flatfishes, snappers, cobia, pompano, cods, puffers, and tunas. So particularly in the developing countries like India, we practice much more mullet, that is mussel, and milkfish, chanas, because they can survive in a wide salinity level than the common carps. So recently we had commercial level of seed production technology in the Asian sea bass, that is Lactis calcariper. So there are several experiments which are looking forward for breeding of cobia and silver pompano fish. Other fishes like common carp that I was telling you, common carp and tilapia, they need a low salinity environment. That is why the culture is somewhat difficult than mullets and mussel. So actually, as I was telling you, the carnivores, they are having the choosy food habit, and they also require the protein diet. That is why herbivores are much more preferred, because they can survive in a limited supplementary diet. So actually in monoculture and polyculture, both are practiced in mariculture. Herbivores are both cultured in monoculture and polyculture. What I was telling you, the polyculture is along with the prawn. So investigations on culture of milkfish, pearl spot, mullets, eels, Sijala, Sihama are undertaken in the pilot projects of many institutes of Tamil Nadu and Chennai. So Channas fry are reared in ponds which have an average survival rate of 70% up to 5th month stage. The oil sardines are also reared in floating cages, and the glass eels, that is Anguilla bicolor, they have a very good survival rate up to 90%, and they are also transported without mortality with ice to various other places. So this is all about the finfish culture. Now let us see about the ornamental fish culture. So as we know, the ornamental fish culture has a lucrative industry which is very high in its return with less investment. There are a wide variety of ornamental fishes in coral reef ecosystem of Indian coast, which can have a good foreign exchange. Then a long-term sustainable trade of marine ornamental fishes has to be adopted. And we know the CMFRI has taken the pioneering role in farming, breeding, seed production,
having culture of more than variety of ornamental fishes with a heavy international demand. Those are Amphiprion percula, Amphiprion ocellaris, Amphiprion periderarion, Amphiprion ephipium, Dacylus arvanus, Pomacentrus, Corellius, and Chrysiptera cyanea. So along with this prawn culture, mussel culture, finfish culture, ornamental fish culture, we can also have sea cucumber culture. We have seen in Andaman Islands and Port Blair. The sea cucumber is a Holothurias scabra species. So after this, sponge culture has also been seen of species such as Spongia, officinalis, and Silonensis. Then, as Mukherjee sir was telling about the widespread of seaweed culture, which is an emerging technique. Actually, seaweed culture has a history of ways back. At present, 92% of the world seed supply comes from these cultivated species. Seaweed cultivation as a diversification activity is seen in mariculture. Seaweeds are rich in vitamins, minerals, and are consumed as food in various parts of the world, which are used as phytochemicals for agar-agar, for carrageenan, and for alginate production in culture medium. So these are widely employed as gelling, stabilizing, thickening agents. They are also used in food, pharmaceutical industry, textile, paper, and paint industry. The most common seaweeds are red algae, that is Gelidilla acidosa, Gracilaria crassa, Gracilaria folifera, Gracilaria verrucosa, which are used for agar manufacturing. Similarly, another brown algae, Sargassum species, Turbinaria species, Cystoceria, Trinodis species are used for liquid seaweed fertilizer. The quantity of seaweed exploited is inadequate to meet the raw material. So you can see the seaweed culture. These are some photos taken from the internet. So these are the seaweeds. This is red algae. So I was telling you seaweeds such as Gracilaria, Hyptia, Cappaphycus, Entomorpha, Acanthophora are also cultivated depending on the selected species. So depending on the selected species, their biology, life history, level of tissue specialization, socio-economic situation, and various cultivation technology, seaweed can be taken with an efficient one. So it can become a highly advanced, mechanized, requiring online cultivation systems. Cultivation seed stock improvement techniques are also refined. So these are all about various species diversification of mariculture. Let us see some of the Indian scenario and advancements in mariculture. So as India has a huge potential for mariculture with about 2.2 million kilometers square of exclusive economic zone, 0.5 million kilometers square of continental shelf, 8.12 kilometers of coastline, 1.2 million hectares of brackish water, and around 20 million hectares for marine farming. So as we know, still we are a developing country. We have given about a 3.8% of marine coastline finfish production till 2018, what the reports say. So in order to address the critical gaps in fish production, productivity, quality, technology, there are many areas where the marine culture has to be taken into account, such as post-harvest infrastructure, management, modernization, strengthening of value chain, traceability, enforcement of robust fisheries management technology. So as we know, Government of India has come up with several projects, umbrella schemes, such as Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampad Yojana for the development of this fishery sector in India, particularly in the coastal areas. The government is providing various schemes, programs to facilitate small and medium scale farmers in pisciculture. There are some centrally sponsored schemes on Blue Revolution, which provide basic infrastructure for culture practice, such as fish brood banks, hatcheries, banks, hatcheries, construction of ponds, rearing of pond sector, for fish landing centers, harbors for smooth operation, handling and transportation of fishery species. So technological farming, breeding and seed production of candidate marine species, intercropping of finfish in coastal mariculture system, and site selection. So the newly drafted National Mariculture Policy in 2019 particularly focuses on entrepreneurship opportunities by utilizing the available resources in ensure the food and nutritional security. So now let us see about the marine cage culture in a nutshell. The sea cage farming has been expanding because the marine cage culture is one of the most important one. The cage culture has made possible in large scale production of commercial finfish. It can be considered as the most efficient and economical way of raising fish. The rapid growth of industry in most countries can be contributed to 5 main areas such as availability of suitable site, well-established breeding techniques, availability of supporting industries such as seed industry, net manufacturing industry, fish processing industry, then strong research and development from various institutes, government sectors and universities is required, then private sectors for promoting the technique. Currently, on a global basis, commercial cage culture has been restricted to some of the fishes such as salmon, Japanese amberjack, red sea bream, yellow croaker, European sea bass, gillhead, cobia and groupers. So cage culture systems employed by farmers vary from traditional family owned by cage farmers, particularly in the Asian countries, and in Northern Europe and America. The cage culture has also taken in a large scale for salmon and trout. So when compared to many other countries, we can see that India, Asia is in the blooming state. For the first time in India, as a part of research and development, a marine cage of 15 diameter has been set up in 2017 in Visakhapatnam. After that, by CMFRI Institute. So successful cage farming has been demonstrated at various places such as Kanyakumari, Vichicham, Kochi, Bangalore, Karwar, Birwal, Mandapam area, Chennai, and Baleshwar. So the 4 important major groups of marine farming are cobia, sea bass, spiny lobsters, which can give a major breakthrough in the mariculture industry. So this has created a widespread interest among fishermen communities because it is having a very important return. So this is a diagram showing cage culture, aerial view. This is also a cage culture. So now coming to the concluding remarks, as I can only say that mariculture is increasingly has become an important producer of aquatic food in the coastal areas, as there are many states, particularly in which Odisha is the first state which is providing about 70% in brackish water mariculture economic zone. It is a source of employment and income for many coastal communities. So if it is well planned and well managed, it can contribute to the coastal environmental integrity. And however, mariculture's future development is on the places where we can look about the rising population, competition for food resources. Thus, considerable attention is necessary to improve the environmental management of aquaculture through sound technology, better management, farming policies, planning, strategies, and legislation. So on a global basis, the mariculture practices are dominated by, as we have seen, intensive monoculture of mussel and mullets and somehow polyculture along with prawns. So in this regard, biomitigation impact is also checked, should be checked. And the future recommendations may be the development of commercial level seed production, technologies for high market value finfish and shellfish, which is required, establishment of hatcheries by fisheries development agencies, then identification of appropriate case or coastal farming sites by various government or private sectors, development of economically viable farming protocols, then formulation of suitable grow-out feeds, health management protocols, development of mariculture policies, appropriate marketing strategies. If these future recommendations are to be done, then mariculture can be promoted in a large scale, which can contribute to the seafood production, particularly in India, and it can also increase our economic support. So with this, I conclude my topic.
Now the session is
So
open
I
for
want
open question.
acknowledgements. This most of the information for this topic I have taken from Rammohan sir of Kakinada. So he has guided me a lot and provided materials also, and a lot thank you to the Deepika ma'am, because after Corona or COVID, so the webinars are the only ways in which we can exchange our ideas, because conducting seminars or webinars, they give a platform for sharing our ideas with the researchers which are actively doing a lot of work, particularly in the field. And thank you very much to the organizing team. And I rest my topic here. If I can solve any doubt, so please ask.
Now the session is open for the interaction.
I hope, madam, you have muted others.
Can anyone?
Thank you, madam. Now I request vote of thanks by Dr. Deepika Rani madam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now it's time to conclude the session. At the outside, I would like to thank Sri Pola Bhaskar Garu, Commissioner, Collegiate Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh, for his support to organize this type of webinars. I extend my thanks to the leader, the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, Dr. P. Raghav Kumari ma'am, Principal, SKR Government Degree College for Women, for her continuous guidance, cooperation. With her motivation only, we are able to organize the webinar. Thank you so much, madam, for your motivation and your affection. Now, I extend my deep gratitude to the eminent resource persons, Professor U. Shamim madam, for delivering informative lecture regarding the parasitic microbial diseases in aquaculture system. Madam has emphasized the problems related to the diseases and disease management, as the diseases are the major bottleneck constraints for the aquaculture. She also emphasized and enlightened the students regarding the strategic, simple, innovative techniques which are to be implemented in order to control the disease and to reduce the economic loss and to increase the economic profit for the aquaculture farmers. Now, I thank Mr. Rajdeep Mukherjee for the informative session regarding the sustainable management of aquatic resources and the economic perspectives. The lecture has focused on the property right regime in India and how to generate the economic profit by using these particular policies in a right way. Thank you very much, sir. And finally, I thank Dr. C.H. Manjulata Madam for delivering the talk regarding the new techniques to be implemented in mariculture in order to have the sustainable development. Finally, I extend my warm thanks to Ms. C.H. Priyanka, in charge Department of Zoology, for her commitment, Hercules hard work, and team's leading spirit in each and every aspect. Thank you very much, madam. And finally, I thank each and every organizing member and the technical person, Subramaniam Garu, and Dr. M. Smita Madam for her continuous motivation in order to organize this webinar. Thank you, madam. I hope this webinar has enlightened the students, budding researchers, faculty members to good information on various aspects and the protocols of economic perspectives regarding the aquaculture. And they have to be implemented in the field through the exposure to this webinar. The best way for dissemination of knowledge to the aqua farmers is to impart information to the students regarding aquaculture. So with this aim only, the Department of Zoology has organized this webinar. I thank each and everyone for their continuous support. Thank you. Thank you so much.